Hello, Nope Coach listeners. It's Suzanne Kohlberg. Welcome to episode 104. Don't compare your everyday to someone else's highlight reel. The gift of social media is the connectedness. But also, I believe that same gift is also its curse. Because most people only share their highlight reel online. Unless you become one of those, there's a name for them, the doom people who just like leave a status of checked into the hospital and everyone's like, what happened? What happened? What happened? You don't want to be one of those people. But for the most part, people share the happy, they share the smiling, they share the successes. And we tend to look at that and think, they're having all this success and I can't even get my shit together. And that is so not true. It's almost like I nearly called this episode, and some of you listening might have been like, you so should have titled it that. I nearly called this episode Inspiration Porn, because we see so many happy-go-lucky, here's my private jet, here's my laptop lifestyle, here's my well-behaved children, here's my successful launch, here's this. And we're like, doesn't anyone else have the emotional labor of all this drama in the background? And then we just feel like we're never enough, or we feel like we've missed the boat, or we've missed a memo, or we're doing something wrong. And the more we try and emulate that, we become like someone else's knockoff. And then we lose that special gift that only we can bring to the world. And I just want to say that you can't copy someone else's formula. It's about finding your rhythm, finding your groove, finding what works for you, and reclaiming some of the true authenticity of being human. We have moments that are glorious and we have moments that are shit, and often they can happen in exactly the same day. And when we look online and end up doom scrolling or comparing ourselves to what other people have going on and feeling despair that, we're less than or we're not good enough, the only people who benefit from that are people who are trying to sell us some shit. And a lot of these highlight reel shares from people, this inspiration porn, they don't share their true advantages that they come into the game with. They don't credit a lot of the things that they've gone through. Like if you see someone's rag to riches story and they only give you part of the picture, or they're like, I left corporate and now I'm making 6 figures within 60 days or whatever, but they don't credit the fact that in corporate, they'd been there for however many years and they were being billed out, credited out, sourced out at how many thousand per hour, the skills that they learned. So a very personal example, not 6 figures yet, but my sister runs a scrapbooking shop, Image Plus Scrapbook Superstore. If you're in Australia, look at it, check it out. Shameless plug. They ship Australia-wide, $9.95 flat rate shipping for regular. I think it's $13.95 for express post. But anywho, she runs a scrapbooking store. It's fabulous. And then once a month or so, she has a pop-up shop in a venue. And when I was in Tassie last week, that pop-up shop was at the Claremont Guide Hall. And it was a really busy day, and she was, tending to all the customers. And she said, can you do some Facebook Lives for me? I usually do them, but, I'm busy. So I was like, yeah, sure. I know very little about scrapbooking. I have dabbled at best. However, I did these 3 Facebook Lives, and a number of clients, customers, it's funny, I call them clients because I'm in the coaching world. It's customers because they're buying a physical product, came in and were like, oh, I saw you live. Where are the nutcrackers? I want to buy one. Or I saw you live and you said there was 2 of these tins left. I want one. And a lot of the consensus was how good I was at the lives, which I appreciate and I receive. Thank you so much. But the advantages that I came into that game with, although I know very little about scrapbooking, I know how to run a Facebook Live. I've been doing them in my own business for 6 years. I've been doing this podcast daily for, at that time, 90 something days. Like, I might not know the ins and outs of that product, but the advantage I come into the game with is the skill set of having recorded hundreds, if not thousands of hours of video, and one take, no fake. That is a transferable skill, no matter what it is that I'm talking about. So some people, when I was chatting to them, when they came in, I said, I know very little about the product. Were like, oh, you're so good at this. And I could see them starting to go on that compare and despair and spiral. And it was like the skill set I have. And the reason I'm talking about this today is, where in your life do you have a skill set that you are downplaying, dismissing, or ignoring? Or where in your life are you looking to someone else's highlight reel and going, they're so much better at this than me, but you're dismissing the advantages that person came into the game with, and you're not giving them credit. Like, imagine a lot of people who do MLM, like they sell essential oils or candles or nails or whatever it is. Some people do really well and they build really big teams, but what was their Facebook presence like beforehand? How many friends did they have? How big was their network? Someone who is a raging extrovert with a massive network, who's like, here you go, now sell essential oils, is likely to have a lot more success than someone, say, like me, who is a hardcore introvert with very little friends and network. What are the advantages that we don't see? Because often when we, do something, especially entrepreneurial, and we are learning from someone who has had overnight success, I use that term very loosely, and we are wanting to buy that for ourselves, and we're like, why didn't it work for us? And then we're getting really down on ourselves. We aren't crediting what they already came into the game with. So if I was suddenly going to pivot into, I don't know what, give me some ideas, people. But if I was going to pivot into something, maybe I was like, okay, I'm going to join my sister and sell scrapbooking. She might be hearing this and going, yes, or might be going, hells no. But the skills I've had of having done so many videos, how familiar I am with Zoom, how, the connectedness of the online world, they're skills that I can bring to that table that somebody who is just, hasn't had that doesn't bring in. And often we don't realize that a lot of our skills are transferable, or we downplay them, or we don't credit them into something and we tell other people, oh, well, you can do this too. Like, imagine, I can think of a fate worse than death. If you're like, Suze, you have to cold call people. No, I'm the nope coach for a reason. There is no way I would cold call people. But some people, they do really well with that. That may have had a lot of past experience with it. They might be very engaging on the phone. I'm not sure, but really thinking about when you're going about something, especially if you're following someone who has had great success with a strategy, and you're like trying to be their knockoff and you're not having success, then you're downplaying and dismissing that special gift that only you can bring. Another example, when I was early in business, I coached for a company. I don't do name and shames here, but their website is pristine. Everybody has their makeup and hair done. Everybody's wearing really glamorous outfits. And I was like, that's a no from me. Mum bun, fuzzy hair, as long as I'm clean, I'm happy. And they didn't want to put me on their website because, it wasn't in line with their brand. And, some people got offended by that or whatever, but I was like, you know what? I don't need that. My brand is one take, no fake. Let's get real. This is what's happening. And this is the brand that I'm building, because I don't want it to be pristine and makeup and whatever on the front line. And then you get on a call with me and you're like, well, who's this? What you see is what you get. Life has its ups and downs, and we don't need to be picture perfect or eloquent or say exactly the right things. You can be successful and stumble over your words and stutter and swear a lot and just be you. And if that is your way of being, like, there'd be other people who would never leave the house without donning makeup or putting on their face, and that's okay. If that's you, you do you. But being authentic and in line with what works for you, and realizing that you're not comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You're not a failure because you didn't get the overnight success that they did. Perhaps their overnight success was 20 years in the making, from the network they built, from the skills they built in previous areas of their life. I really think if we spoke more to what was really going on. I remember at a retreat I went to once, there was a very successful entrepreneur there who was like, we got some behind the scenes of some of her launches that flopped and some of the stuff that she didn't share publicly. And I remember feeling such a sense of relief. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. But we don't share those. We don't put those up and say, like when you see someone who's like, I successfully predicted Amazon booming, or I successfully predicted Zoom, and this is why you should take financial advice from me. And I'm thinking, but what about all the other things that happened? We tend to laser focus in on the one or two things and blazon them everywhere and make that our branding. But, there's other parts that get, seen and hidden away and squirreled away that would give people a more fuller picture to be able to make a decision before working with someone than if we just look to the highlight reel and the pretty pictures that are, curated to present us in a certain light. So if you're looking at something, and my encouragement would be, firstly, don't use that to make you feel bad about yourself, like you're not comparing your everyday to someone else's highlight reel. And secondly, be a bit savvy, ask a few questions, because often, you can get a little behind the scenes peek if you ask some questions before you jump in that excitement and that inspiration porn that makes you, I want what she's having kind of moment. So thank you so much for watching. If you found this beneficial, please leave a like or a comment, or share it with a friend or somebody who you think might benefit from listening to this. And head over to my website, suzannekohlberg.com, and check out more details of what I do. Tune into some other episodes. This is a daily show. And thank you so much for your continued support. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye for now.